So welcome everyone to Project Management Reimagined, I guess. That's what Microsoft is using as kind of the marketing slogan to this new project management application, which is, to be honest, very exciting for us on many levels. Not because they just changed the interface, which is the bit that I'm going to start with, but more so the architecture, which I probably will spend some time on today. Now, we have scheduled an hour today. I don't know if we're going to need the entire hour, but we'll see how we go. Please make sure that if you have any questions that you put them into the questions panel through the webinar, just to make sure that I can answer them later on. Don't wait until we stop to the Q&A section to ask your question. Put them in, and then at the end I'll try to go through as many as I could. Right. So assuming that you can see my screen, this is a new project for the web. So Microsoft has called the new application Project for the Web, and I know it's quite confusing. We had people who are familiar with the Microsoft Project products. We always had Microsoft Project on the desktop, and that itself actually had two versions, one called Microsoft Project Professional and then one Microsoft Project Standard. And then we had Project Server. Then that was hosted on Microsoft Office 365 data centers, and that then started to be called Project Online. And Project Online comes with the kind of three levels of licenses: Essential, Professional, and Premium. And then we have the new kid on the block, which is called the Project for the Web. So lots of names. I will try to kind of put it in a diagram for you at the end of the session. But let's start with the new thing. That's the kind of the main event for today, is looking at the new Project for the Web. So again, the name for this new application is Project for the Web. So if any of you today have basically Office 365 instance, I would encourage you then go to that SharePoint page, if you'd like, of your Office 365. So if you have any SharePoint, or if in fact you're using Microsoft Project Online today, go to that page. And then from that, what they call the waffle, it looks like a waffle, it's a kind of a quick launch. If you click on it and click on the icon project in it, if you can't see it, just search and type project to find the app. But if you click on project there, it should get you to a screen like the one that I'm seeing here. You might not see any favorites in terms of projects, or in fact roadmaps, or what have you, but you would definitely have at least this button on the left-hand corner, which is basically an arrow and a button that is called New Blank Project. So this is how you start creating a new project using the Project for the Web. So if I were to click the New Blank Project, the page will refresh. It will take a few seconds. It will refresh and will start a new project for me. This project obviously is untitled project. I can click on the text called Untitled Project and type in the project name. So let's say the project name, sorry, someone needs attention. Let me just see if any of the, if we have any problems with the, with people seeing my screen or hearing me. No, all good, sorry. All right, back to the demo. So you click on this text called Untitled Project and with a date, and that will basically click on open on the right-hand side a pane where you enter. This is called the information pane. And this is something that you'll see consistently appearing through as you experience the Project for the Web. It will opens panes for the tasks as well to enter some information or perform some kind of activities on it. So let's call this project building. Oops, sorry. Building a new office. And I will be the project manager on this project. I can remove and assign it to someone else, but I'll stick with that. And then I will assign we'll put a start date to it. My dev environment is still on a American date format, but obviously you can change that. And you say, well, look, we're going to build the new office maybe early next year because it's almost Christmas. So no one is actually going to work for the next 2 months. How about we start on the first week of Feb, and that's the 3rd of February, something like that. And that's it really, and this is how you create a project name. And as you can see, the project name is there. You don't have to worry about the pane on the left-hand side to close it, but if you want, you can close it. You can literally go there and start interacting with your project schedule right here. So you either close or not, doesn't matter. And this is where you start creating new tasks. So before I start creating a new task, the new project for the web is actually built excuse me, using 3 different views: a grid, which the default view, board, and timeline. So people who are familiar with the Microsoft Project Desktop, or in fact Microsoft Project Schedule component of Project Online, are familiar with a Gantt chart view. Now that has been renamed to timeline. So if you are looking for a view that is similar to your Project Desktop, or in fact the schedule component of Project Online, that's the view that you're looking for, timeline. But we'll start with the grid, and the grid is basically, I think what Microsoft is trying to do here is to give us 3 types of experiences. The first experience is what I call the Excel type of experience, which is a grid. It's columns and rows, that's it. Simple columns and rows, and this is what the grid is all about. The second experience is board, and that's basically your new way of managing tasks, really, a board of either buckets or progress, a Kanban board or whatever. And timeline, and the timeline is, on the board, sorry, if you're familiar with Planner, the application in Office 365, it is very similar to the interface of Planner. That's the board. And the timeline is the experience, the Gantt chart experience, if you'd like. So again, grid is an Excel-like, board is a Planner-like, timeline is a Gantt chart experience. So I'm starting with the grid, and as you can see here, I have some columns: name, assigned to, duration, but I can also add columns here. So there's a list of columns that Microsoft make available to us: percent complete, bucket, dependencies, effort completed, effort remaining, finish, outline number, and start. Now I know that I will get the question all the time: can we create our own columns? The answer is no, not at this stage at least. So these are the columns that you have for Project for the Web, and we are unable, as far as I know to date, to create a new columns. We can create columns or fields that are custom in what we call the Common Data Service at the back end, which I'm going to explain later on, but we wouldn't be able to expose it through the Project for the Web. Right, so maybe we'll just add a percentage complete column. Maybe we'll add a start date column, and let's leave it to that. So how do I go about adding a new task? You click add a new task, and there we go, we type the new task. So it's building a new office. So maybe I'll start with a bit of a design work, and then there's an assignment, by the way, and let's say this will take me, I don't know, 6 weeks to design the new 6 weeks to design the new office. And then under the design, maybe I'll say, well, look, we'll do the architecture design, we'll do the civil work, we'll do, I don't know, the plumbing or the, I don't know, mechanical design, and so on. And obviously, the first thing that I need to do is make sure that I can indent those tasks, as in make them subtasks of the main task. So you'll have those 3 dots against your task. Obviously, I highlighted the tasks, all of them. And then we have those 3 dots, which says more options. And I have an option here to say make subtask. So I click here, and that will make it make subtask. So you will notice that there is no ribbon anymore. In order to make actions, the actions are available to me in my working area. And I think this is a brilliant UI decision by Microsoft. No more ribbon experience here. You call the actions required as you work through the project. So say that I've done my design, and then in the design I can create a new task here. Actually, I will make this the approvals, and then just to make things more interesting, I'll create a milestone of complete design phase or complete design. So I'll make sure that this is a zero duration task, so it is a milestone. And then let's say that I want to assign or link those tasks together. I will go all these tasks, create dependency. So same experience, click on the dots and I click add dependency. So I created dependencies for those. And then I go and say, well, architecture design will take us, by the way, I overwritten the 6 weeks that I put on the design, because now the duration of the design task excuse me, is calculated from the subtasks underneath that summary task. So let's say this will take us a week, this will take us 2 weeks, and this will take us 3 weeks. Get an approval will take us a day, and that's it. They are all completed the design. Done. I don't know if I actually created the dependencies. As you can see, I'm obviously still learning as I'm going. The new project for the web. So let me do that to add dependency. Yeah, the dependencies are there. In fact, let me leave it without dependency, because you can create dependencies on the other kind of format, the other view called timeline. If I want to create a new phase, so let's say that's the design, then the phase is construction or whatever, construction strategy. You'll see that this is now it's still a subtask. I'll just have to push it back to be basically a phase, and that's construction. So this is the design phase, and underneath that I have construction, and in construction I can continue the story and put more subtasks and so on. So look, I don't want to put too much effort on explaining how to put a Gantt chart together, or in fact a project plan together. This is all something that we are familiar with. But then the assignment of resources is obviously very interesting. You go and you start assigning resources. Again, people familiar with the other applications for Microsoft Project, you'll know that there's a task or an action that is required in between building a project schedule and assigning resources, and that's build a team if you have an enterprise resource pool. This is gone, and instead of a team, we have what's so-called a group. It's called an Office 365 group. And on the right-hand side, basically screen, you can see the group members. And you go, either you've got to create a new group for your project, or you want to add it to an existing group. So if you have already a group, and that group you usually use, the same team, same architects, same civil engineers, same IT people, I don't know, it depends on your project. This is the same group. You can say, well, I want that group, and you choose that group, or you create a new group and you go, look, I'm going to create a group. The group name is called Building a New Office. I'm going to give it a description, and I can say it's either private or public. We'll leave that kind of what's private versus public for now, but let's say it's a private group, and I create it. Now I can add team members if you would like, or members of that group here, but you don't have to really. You can, as you assign, you can search your users list and then assign them to the task, and that will add it to the group or to the team automatically. So I don't have to create a group or a team members of that group here. If you want to do it, if you have an existing group and you want to assign it to that existing group, you'll do it from here. But I'm actually going to ignore this and go and try to assign resources into my or assign people to work on my project without having to create this team or group and have people being members of it. So assign resource. As you can see, the only resource available for me is myself because I've created the project. But what if I want a Peter Williams, right? So all I do is basically be able to search. So Peter W, it shows me Peter Williams, and I click and select Peter Williams. This is going to cross all the users. I'll leave security aside here, but let's say it's a very flat kind of access security, you'll have access to all of the users that available in your Office 365 tenant effectively. And you go, look, I want to assign to Peter. Now it will ask me, okay, well, you don't have a group yet. Do you want to create a group called building a new office? And do you want to assign Peter to this new group? And he literally in one, well, two actions, I've assigned Peter first, and then he in one action, I go, yeah, create and assign. So instead of preparing the team and or the group and saying Peter Williams is a member of that group, I've done it here in the assignment, and so on. And you'll see that what about if I want Dan to work on this project? And the same experience will happen. Dan Stouffer, right? And I go, yeah, Dan Stouffer is the person that I want on task, and that's me. Do you want to assign and add Dan to your group called the Building a New Office group? And go, yeah, assign and add, and so on. So I do not have to prepare the team members. I can add them as I go through my assignments. Obviously, the question here, can I assign more than one person? Yes, you can assign Dan and Laith to work on and Peter to work on the same task. So it is not limited to one resource assigned to a particular task. Obviously, question that we get all the time, what are percentages? Can you assign with different percentages, as in Laith 20%, Dan 25%, Peter's 50%? The answer is no. You either assign or don't assign a resource to the task. Now, I'll leave that there, but there is the work duration thing still happening, or the effort duration thing still happening. So as you can see here, the effort is 280 hours. So I won't, drill into the details of effort driven and how you calculate effort based on the assignment of duration and the percentage differences and what happens if you change the effort to the duration. I'll leave out all of those details, but the answer of the percentage assignment is no, you can't actually do it at this moment. Obviously, this is an application that's literally been launched to production environments across the globe, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. But currently, as it stands, there is no ability to have percentages of assignments. There are, again, I'll leave the effort versus duration argument or discussion outside this demonstration. If you are interested to have that conversation with me, please. I mean, I think most of the people who registered for the webinar today know us, EPM Partners, and then you can either contact us or email me directly. Anyway, so that's really the first part of it. You can obviously go and start changing start dates. You can change completion, and as you can add columns, you can interact with it. But again, the experience that we are seeing here, an Excel-like experience. It's very slick. It's very modern, and therefore it should be very appealing to users to use. But actually, I'm going to now show you how that look in a Gantt chart view. I'm going to jump the board just for a second and go to the timeline. So the timeline view, you'll see that those tasks are there. Let me just zoom out a bit to locate. Oh, there we go. Oh, what happened? I might just go to the left a bit. Dates, where are we? September. There we go. February. So, and you can obviously zoom in and zoom out to the Gantt chart, but there you go. That's my Gantt chart. So not only you can create a new task, so obviously you can do that, but also you can increase durations, decrease durations, create dependencies. So let me create a new task here. So after construction, there will be handover. You can assign it and all the good things, right? Now, not only we can have the actually, let me go back to the grid and give the handover a duration of, I don't know, 2 weeks. Let me just have it a more kind of established Gantt chart. And 1 week, 1 week of construction, that would be nice. Let's go 1 week construction, why not? With 3D print the new office. Anyway, so new task created here with a duration. And then I will say, well, I want to link this task to this milestone. And it's basically, after this milestone finish, I want the construction to start. You can have a very nice experience where you literally, click, drag, and link, and that's connected. And same thing I can do again here: click, drag, connect, and connect, which we didn't have in at least in Project Online. We did have this experience in Project Desktop. Not everyone uses it, but again, through this slick, clean user interface, you can then create dependencies. You can in fact increase duration. So you go, what are you talking about? A construction in a week that will take at least, I don't know, from here to there. So I've increased the duration as I go into the task and without having to type in the duration and so on. By the way, it does have the ability to undo, and Control Z does work on the interface. So there you go. That's my kind of Gantt chart experience. I can't really tell you much more about it. It's as you can see, it's a Gantt chart experience. It's, you can still assign resources. You can interact with through the bars. So again, the experience here is focusing on use this bit, the Gantt chart bit of the view, not the columns and the rows experience. If you want to go columns and rows, go to the grid. But the switching between those views is so smooth, it's so kind of seamless that you wouldn't say, oh, so every time I need to, for example, enter duration, go to the grid. Yeah, but it's literally clicking between two views, and the experience, the speed of the performance itself is so fast that you wouldn't really notice any delays between the two views. It's almost instantly changing the view. Right, and then how about the board? So this is kind of I call Kanban. Some people call different things, but my understanding of Kanban, this is a Kanban board. And a Kanban board is basically either by progress or a bucket. And apologies for the agile fanatics out there if I used, well, Kanban is actually not agile, but yeah, if I'm not using the right terminology there. But don't take away from the board that it's used for agile. It is not used for agile at all. It can be. It doesn't mean that it cannot be used for kind of iterations and sprints. If you name your buckets sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, that's absolutely fine. But it is not just geared for that type of usage. In fact, I doubt that this will be used for agile, at least for now. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's my own personal view. Don't take that as a Microsoft a statement. Microsoft obviously will encourage you to use this view if you want for agile management. But it is a simple Kanban board where you say, okay, well, you know what? We started the architect work and it's in progress. So you can literally point it, and in progress is 50%, by the way, completion. And you go, well, this is a 50% in progress. And then you go, this is completed. So architectural work or design has been done. Now the civil work is at 50%. But as the civil work happening, the approval is happening at the same time. Look, I'm making things up. It doesn't make any logic here. But the ability to update and kind of manage the updates of your tasks via a Kanban board. But also you can put them in buckets. So you can group by progress, you can group by finish date, or you can group by buckets. And the buckets at the beginning is what you see. Microsoft give you by default a bucket called to do that you can overwrite. You can go, you know what? No, this is not to do. And the buckets are, I'm just gonna say it's one of on-site work and another bucket of off-site work, for example. And you go, well, look, the handover is on site, but the construction is the handover is going to be off site. The design, the mechanical design, and the civil design, and as you can see here, the completed task is hidden here under a group called completed, the architect, and so on. So you can see it in different boards. Well, 3 basically, either the progress board, the bucket board, but the bucket board is something that you would use however you want to use. So you name the buckets the way that you want to name the buckets, on-site, off-site. You can go, well, this is civil work, this is architect, and you put the task in different buckets. It's a way to label the activities as you see fit. If it's an agile, you can go sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, or iteration 1, iteration 2. I think Scrum versus agile. Again, I apologize for the people who are thoroughly or understand agile much more than I do, but whatever terminology that works for your agile process, you can put them here, and so on. So this is really the board experience. this that you can, as you can see, he configure and manage and use the way you want. And then if I go back to the grid, as you can see, when I do my progress tasks on the board, it actually reflects here, so it's 100%, 50%, 50% here. These are the things that I've just dragged and dropped between the boards. The other nice thing about this is the visual of the finish date. So let me have in fact, start or finish. So let's say that this was supposed to start. I know it's that. I don't know if actually it's going to let me. Let's say that it was supposed to start last month. In theory, and it's not doing it for some reason, but in theory, it should have turned this into red. Maybe it works only on the finish. Let me see if the finish there. No, same thing. But these cells should have been turned into red once that date has been passed. So you're supposed to start on the 30th of September 2019. You haven't. This becomes a red, basically, cell. Works. I'm going to go to another project just to show you how that looks like, because I'm pretty sure it worked before. I don't know why it's not working now. And so there you go. That's the project. Let me show you how it looks. This is for CRM Dynamics implementation project. So obviously not for the same purpose of projects, not construction type projects, but more IT related project. And there we go. So the finish date is being passed, and then it triggers those cells into to be kind of red cells instead of the standard ones. You can also, by the way, update your task and say 100% complete by literally ticking the tick box and say this is done. And it does come with, I don't know if you heard the sound or not, but it comes with a sound and a bit of animation to give us that kind of modern feel to it. Congratulations, you finished the task. It is very, very smart stuff, I think, and is giving that managing project timelines a much easier, I guess, experience than using a Gantt chart that has, a Microsoft Project Desktop or the schedule component of Project Online. Now, I'm pretty sure that there will be a number of questions about this in terms of the other functionality. In a nutshell, this is it. So anything that you're thinking of that I haven't demonstrated, it doesn't exist. So if you want to ask about, can we baseline? The answer is no, I didn't demonstrate it, it's not there. And so on. So anything else that I haven't demonstrated, almost I can, I guess, the answer most likely be no, you can't do. So it's very basic in terms of the functionality or the ability to manage timelines, but it gives us that advantage of a slim, slick, very nice experience, very interactive experience. And again, credit to Microsoft. I think they focused on the most used function of their project management application rather than the other things that some of us would use, but most of us don't. I mean, the idea of a baseline is great, and most of our clients will talk about baseline, but in reality, it is something that is hardly been implemented in a pragmatic, practical way that actually gives valuable insights to the organization. Having said all of that, you can still baseline by tapping into the backend architecture, the common data service, which I will talk about later. But out of the box, if you just start using it, there is no button to baseline, for example. And again, I'm taking baseline here as an example because it's a question that I often get asked in terms of whether it will have that ability, or does it have the ability or not. What will come in the future or not, I don't know. Microsoft is saying we'll monitor the usage of this new project for the web and see what are the requirements coming from our clients. We need this, we need that, and we'll start adding it in time. So this is not the final version of it. It will not, there will be no final version of it. Obviously, this will evolve in time. Now, in a month, a year, or 10 years, will it have a button that says baseline? I don't know if it's, the answer is yes or no. And if it's yes, I don't know when that will happen. That's really the essence of this new thing. There is actually a Power BI pack that will then be deployed to query the data from the information that we have here, so you can generate reports against the project or the projects that you're creating through this new project for the web. I'm not going to go there. It's very basic. I mean, you would think that it's the same stuff that any type of portfolio reporting will have. So I might actually take a break before I talk the architecture, a Q&A break, and see if there's any question about the interface itself, and then go back to the architecture. And I think if you are a current user of Project Online or any PPM tool, I think you'll be interested into knowing more about the architecture. Right. So let me just go through the question. First, if a project is added to Project Web, does it appear in the Project Online list of projects? No, it does not. So the question is, let me just start my Project Online instance. So the question is, if a project has been added to the project of the web, and I go to my Project Online, where I see the projects here, would it appear in Project Online list of projects? No, it will not. I'll show you where it appears. Obviously, Power BI will be the combination of both. If you go to Power BI report or dashboard, very similar to this one, you will see the combination of both Project Online projects and Project for the Web projects. Another question. Can a group be shared between projects? Yes, definitely can. So if you have a group, an Office 365 group that you call it, I don't know, the Builder group, or Sydney Office group, or whatever you want to call it, you can definitely go and start a new project, and you say, I'm going to actually use an existing group rather than creating a new group. So yeah, definitely one group can be used for more than one project. Can we create generic resources? Not in the sense of generic resources that we currently have in Project Online or Microsoft Project Desktop. You can create a user and you call it, I don't know, engineer, IT, but not a resource in the sense of resources. So that's the way that you go about generic resources for now. So on that, by the way, in the roadmap or in the coming features that we know for sure are coming in the next year, is a resource management function that Microsoft will produce on or will add to this interface. Also, a cost management kind of module that will be added to Project for the Web. I would suspect it will be a different, if you like, app. It wouldn't be in the same interface. I could be wrong, but this will be added. And we are suspecting that when that goes out, then your generic resource ability or other resource management capability will be included natively. In the board screen, can you use other heading besides not started, in progress, complete? Yes. So the buckets are used to whatever buckets names that you want to use. So I went on-site, off-site. You can create other buckets. You can rename them the way you want. Oh, there's some tips from Anthony about why the finish date was not read in my project, and he was saying because it was 100% complete. So thank you for that. Can you access the schedule from Power BI or other reporting tools? Yes, definitely. So that is something that I actually made a comment at the end. These reports information, there's even a Power BI pack, and I will explain the architecture, as I said, as the second part of this webinar. But yes, these are the dashboard that you would. The Power BI dashboard would be able to connect to those data through what I'm going to show you, the common data system. Same for the other question. Yes, you will have the status. Same for the other question. Is there any portfolio reporting functionality? Yes, in Power BI. If you have a Project Online license, does that get you Project for the Web? Yes. So a question about the licensing. So the project licensing, so it's not called Project Online licensing anymore. It's called the project licensing. So instead of essential, professional, premium, you would have the P1, P3, and P5. So if you're interested, again, I can send you a link for the licenses details. But now we have 3 licenses for project P1, project P3, and project P5. So P1, all the Ps, by the way, P1, 3, and 5 will give you project for the web. All of those licensing will give you project for the web. And all of them will give you project online with variance functionality, if you like, available. But only P3 and P5 will give you desktop. So let me repeat that. All of the Ps, P1, 3, 5, these are the licensing. P1, P3, P5 will give you project for the web, all of them. So if you want P1 or P3 or P5, you'll get project for the web, the thing that I've just demonstrated. All of them will give you project online, but project online with different functionality levels. For example, you can't get portfolio analysis unless you're a P5 license. But project desktop, the thing that you install on your, your desktop or laptop on your machine, is available only on P3 and P5. Right. You can't do portfolio optimization, no, but you build apps for it, and I'll explain that later. But again, your license will include Project Online. Project Online is not going away anytime soon, so you'll still use Project Online for portfolio analysis, I would suggest. Resource utilization, well, again, out of the box today, you can't do your resource utilization. The resource management module yet to come next year. Sorry, just to rectify that, you build an app, which we've done, to do that. Now, or they use Microsoft app or an app that we developed. I guess there's argument for both sides. Obviously, I would recommend our app, but it is something that you need to consider. There's a way to link to project online. Unless you're talking reporting, then no. One task is assigned to someone, can this be pushed down as Outlook task into a planner? Not really, no. So you can't push it automatically, although there are ways that we can do that. So out of the box, no, but I'll again talk about the architecture and the ability to do so many other things via the Power Platform. Can this project be open in Microsoft Project Desktop? No, you can't open a Microsoft a project for the web project in Project the Desktop, not like Project Online. Can you enter tasks in between? Yes, you can enter tasks in between existing tasks. So I might actually leave it for here. I can see other questions, but I might leave it for here and just talk about the architecture for a minute. So for the architecture, I will start with this. I'm trying to make things simpler to understand, because it is, I mean, the interface itself, as you can see, is quite, I think it's very good. But it is the architecture behind it, what is for us it's much more significant than the interface itself. It is for us, it's a game changer. It is it's an opportunity for us to do much more things than we possibly could have imagined doing with just Project Online or Project the Desktop. So this is in a nutshell the architecture, and at the heart of it is something called the Common Data Service. The Common Data Service is part of what Microsoft called the Power Platform, or in fact, the Power Platform is built on the Common Data Service. Microsoft Dynamics is also built on the Common Data Service. But in the context of project management, and if you all don't have Dynamics, I'll leave Dynamics out of the picture for now, it is at the heart of this Power Platform that we're talking about. Now, Project for the Web is built on the Common Data Service. And the Common Data Service, think of it as a hub of your entities in one location. So in terms of project management, as an example, you have one entity called project, right? And that entity called project might have items, i.e. projects, stored against it from Project for the Web, or from Project Online, or Project Desktop from a different database, will go into the same list of projects. So if you create a Project for the Web project or Project Online project, you'll have one list of everything. But in fact, it also connects with other data sources. If you have projects in Jira, it will bring the project in Jira into the same list called projects. If you have projects in SAP, you'll have this another list of projects, well, another or same list. I will leave that for now. But basically, or Oracle for that matter, you basically connect to any data source in your organization. I'll show you how simple it actually connecting to these data sources and bring them into a common data place, hence the name Common Data Service. And then use this Common Data Service for the obvious function of reporting in Power BI, as an example. So all those questions around, the reporting, the answer is obviously yes, because the can you have a portfolio report and can you report on such and such? The answer is yes, because the data will be stored in one location and it can go up into Power BI. You can also go, by the way, to other reporting engines if you use Tableau or SQL reporting services or whatever your reporting choice is. You will able to see it in those reporting, including Excel, a simple Excel dump of all the project information into Excel. That is also included as a function of the Common Data Service. So that's number one. That's that's actually two things. First, the integration. So the Common Data Service, which Project for the Web is built on. So when you create a new project, it creates the project in the Common Data Service. Has the native integration capability to all sorts of data sources, be it your existing project online or other Microsoft applications. You name whatever Microsoft application where we can bring the data from there, or non-Microsoft, Jira, SAP, Oracle, or another Excel file, whatever. But it has a native ability to bring data sources into one centralized location called the Common Data Service. So that's number one. Number two, because of that ability to contain information from all places, you then can report on them via application like Power BI. But the third very exciting, I guess, part of this architecture is the ability to develop your own apps, Power Apps, using Power Apps. So, for example, you have, let's say that you are an IT shop and you would like you use Microsoft Project Portfolio Management for IT type projects, and you would like to use it for an application for registering timesheets, as an example, but you don't like the project online timesheet, and you would like that timesheet to be available on phones and tablets, and you wanted to make it easier, and so on. Well, that's a Power Apps that you can develop. And when I say develop, the Power Apps or the Power Platform, Microsoft pitch it as a zero code platform. I wouldn't call it zero, but it's a definitely minimum coding platform. When we develop an app, and instead of taking, I don't know, say 3-4 weeks, we're talking about days, and we have an app, at least a basic app that is ready to be used. If you want an app for contract management, you have a contract manager, but also and we think in a more mature, advanced usage of this fantastic platform, you can redesign a user experience. So currently, when we want to collect data from different users, we go and say use Project Online. This is the application for project management, or whatever, something else. And then you'll have people using Project Online, the business usually using Project Online, and then IT using Jira, right? So the idea of that we don't actually go and dictate what application a user or a team or a group in the organization uses. We go and give them the freedom to choose their own operating application. But as long as we bring it back home to the Common Data Service, then the organization, the enterprise, can then have the insights and the results that it needs from the people. The problem, the gap between bottom up and top down in any organization today, with the kind of the disruption of digitization, is that people, teams, individuals are using their own application. Excel is a very good example. Everyone have a certain type of Excel version of a certain application that they use for a certain function in their organization. And you have different versions of those Excels, but also as new digital applications arrive, some use Jira, some use Teams, some use SharePoint, some use some use SAP, some use Oracle. So many applications, and that is creating a problem because those applications store data in their own back end, and we don't have control of the business rules and how it's been used, and we don't have visibility. So the Power Platform goes and said, no, we're actually going to support both a centralized enterprise-grade data service where we have visibility and consistency with business rules, but also we'll empower the teams or the individuals to have their own applications. And if they don't have an application they like, we develop an application through Power Apps. So I really like this kind of a statement that Microsoft put in their sales pitch, and obviously their CEO kind of was involved in this, putting this statement together. Oops. So that's the Microsoft project management vision, the reimagined vision, is that teams, and I dare sometimes to say teams or individuals, work the way you want, right? So if you want an agile project for the web, Jira, or an application that we develop for you to manage your own project, great, go for it. So we will let teams and individuals work the way they want, but we will enable the enterprise or the company or the business or the corporate to get the result they need. And if you think about the results they need, it's basically they need two main things: consistency and visibility. Visibility, yeah, we bring everything to the CDS, we report up to whatever reporting functionality that we want, and that's accurate, real-time reporting. It's not go and query and put a nice reporting pack for me. But also consistency. We can then start applying rules of, if you're managing a project in Jira and you have more than 5 people and the budget was X, when the budget was actually compared to a figure in SAP or Oracle, I will go to the Jira people and say, hang on a minute, you assigned more resources than the allowed budget. What are you doing there? Stop. There are too many people working on your project in this sprint that's currently active, or whatever. So that consistency in terms of the business rules and the application of them into the CDS and the visibility that it's giving us will give the enterprises the results they need, but supporting the teams and individual the work they want. So I'm going to quickly give you a view of that Power Platform CDS. So this is basically it in a nutshell. I don't know how to get rid of my go to the meeting. There we go. Pain. So this is the CDS or the Power Platform. You go through Power Apps. This is not a full technical explanation of what it is, but it's interesting. If you're interested in to see where this data will be stored, you'll go to data and you go to entities. And when you look for the entities, so I'm going to search for an entity called project. You'll see that this is the project entity, right? So this is where project for the web, and in fact, if you want project online or SAP or Jira will store all the project information, including files like budget, modified on, start and finish, status reasons, all the kind of the standard stuff that you would store against a project. But this is the centralized location. And to be honest, if I come here, and by the way, I can see the data. This is actually a different instance of the CDS, so none of the same projects that I created there will be here, doesn't matter. But here's the projects, the list of the actual project. Now, project A could come from the new project for the web, B could come from project online, and C can come from Jira. But again, I'm storing them into one location, and then I report up to Power BI. I'll show you quickly how easy to get data from different sources. Now, sorry, just back on that. Remember when I said project A, project B, and project C? Project A, I said, came from project for the web. I did not have to create a connection to that application. It stores the data right into the CDS. Right? I don't have to create a connection. For project online or Jira, in my example, or Planner, or whatever else, I do have to create a connection. So to create a connection, you go, I'm going to create a new connection to Jira. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Jira. I'm not going to create a connection, but this is the ease of creating connections. And then as I do the mapping, I go, the entity called work item in Jira is actually a project. I'm making things up here. And the start date of the work item is the start date of the project. So you do the mapping and you do it once. And so once the mapping is done, you set a schedule. And I'm going to take this, for example, as and go edit my reference setting. And say, look, get the data from Jira you can literally go every minute, not that the job will be finished in a minute, every 5 minutes, every, I don't know, half an hour. Every half an hour, get me the data from Jira, and you save it, and every half an hour, this will be refreshed from the information coming from Jira, or Oracle, or SAP, or every 5 minutes, or every day, or every night. But again, if I go back to the architecture discussion, the common data service becomes that one centralized location from whatever application, either built ready to go application like Project Online and Planner and Jira and SAP, or, and this is where it gets more interesting, or an app that you develop. So you can create an app and say, this kind of timesheet example that I gave you, or contract management, or whatever the case might be, you can start building your own apps to give the people, the supporting individuals and teams, to give them the app they want in order to do their job, having the CDS to give you the visibility and consistency you need. So we have only 5 minutes left. I might actually go back and see if there are any more questions to be answered. I do. There's one about, will we provide a copy of the presentation? Yeah, happy to provide a copy of the presentation. I probably encourage you, if you have my contact details, or not, just contact us through the website, to ask for it directly, because I don't know if we have a place where we just publish it to. So that's that in terms of the presentation. Program management, of course, but again, it depends on the what do you mean by program management? Whether it's interdependencies between projects, or tasks relationships, or whatever you mean by program management. But out of the box, again, Project for the Web does not have it. If you're thinking of a one heading of program X, and underneath that a number of projects, that is something that is not there yet. So no, that is not available yet for us to create through the Project for the Web. Okay, risks and issues, and what we call RAID. A good question. If you're not using Project Online, how do you go about, or document management? I'm going to add document management to the mix, because people who are familiar with the Microsoft Project Online will know that the SharePoint handles that side of the kind of the project management aspect. Risks, issues, lessons learned, variations, people impact, documents to be stored. So how does that work with Project for the Web? So basically what you do, you create, if you don't have Project Online, that is, you create an app where you basically create entities called risks, issues, document, and then you expose it to the user via an app, a Power App an interface that you develop the way you want, and make it available for the users. I mean, we did develop apps, they are available. If you're considering this a new platform, you can, we call the solution. So all the apps are deployed through a solution. So we have now currently a solution called PMO365. And PMO365, as you can see, this is one of them, would then be deployed, and you will have all of those, equivalent to, again, people who are familiar with Project Online, equivalent to Project Online experience with risks, issues, documents, interdependencies. All the Project Online stuff will be there, ready to go, but obviously can be modified and configured and further developed to the exact requirements. Right, I have another couple of questions, but I actually have a meeting in 2 minutes, so I might as well just stop here. And I do thank you, everyone, for giving me the time to talk about the new Project for the Web. Obviously, our business is EPM Partners. We have been doing this for a while. Encourage you to look at the website, pmo365.com.au, have a look. If you're interested in our services, obviously this is a marketing activity for us, so we'd appreciate if you're thinking of a implementation of a PPM solution to your organization, to think of us as a candidate, and reach out to us so we can help in any way or shape that we can. Thank you everyone for attending, and have a good day.